Caitlin Clark has added pressure to the March 10th date for the WNBA CB talks and added pressure to the WNBPA to get a deal.
In the high-stakes, billion-dollar arena of pro sports labor talks, there's a big psychological gap between a normal deadline and a financial ultimatum that's meant to pressure people. For months, a lot of coverage has framed the WNBA collective bargaining standoff as just a debate over revenue percentages. The story has been that the players' union is calmly holding firm, waiting for ownership to bend under public pressure fueled by the Caitlin Clark spotlight. The assumption has been that owners need the 2026 season revenue so badly that the players have the leverage, but behind the scenes, where executives are looking at budgets and projections, ownership appears to be taking a much harder approach. This isn't being treated as routine back and forth anymore. It's become a calculated negotiation strategy aimed at testing the union's unity. Instead of using the Caitlin Clark moment as protection for the players, critics argue it's being used as leverage, a ticking clock. Let's walk through what's actually happening: the so-called exploding offer, the tight timeline before the season, and the hardball tactics that often show up in corporate negotiations. To understand the urgency facing the WNBA Players Association, you have to look at the timeline ownership has reportedly put on the table. A lot of people point to the May 8th season opener and assume there's plenty of time to work this out. But league logistics don't work that way. The real operational deadline comes much earlier. Here's how that deadline was described.
Delivered a stark ultimatum to the players' union. A deal must be reached by March 10th if the season is to start on time, according to a
March 10th. That date isn't random. It represents the point where the mechanics of running the league become extremely difficult. Without a deal in place, consider the current setup. A large majority of players are free agents. Two expansion teams in Toronto and Portland have paid significant entry fees and still need to build full rosters. Between March 10th and May 8th, less than 2 months, the league would need to complete an expansion draft, process free agency, conduct the college draft, open training camps, and stage preseason games. None of that can happen smoothly without a ratified collective bargaining agreement. You can't finalize contracts without knowing the salary cap. You can't structure trades or define roster rules without agreed-upon guidelines. From ownership's perspective, the message is straightforward. If there's no agreement by March 10th, the season timeline starts to break down. Arena dates could be lost, schedules reshuffled, and paychecks delayed. Setting a deadline, though, is only step one in a tough negotiation. Step two is where pressure really increases. One tactic sometimes discussed in business circles is the exploding offer. The idea is simple. Instead of leaving the same proposal on the table indefinitely, the terms change and not in your favor the longer you wait. Former MLB executive David Sampson described this approach in blunt terms.
But no revenue sharing movement. If you do not accept this deal by that day, every day following,
outlining what negotiators call an exploding offer, a proposal that worsens over time. In practice, that could mean today's salary cap number or benefit package looks different tomorrow if a deal isn't signed. The logic behind it is psychological as much as financial. If a union believes the same offer will still be there weeks later, there's less urgency to accept it. But if leadership believes the terms will decline day by day, internal pressure builds quickly. And that's where dynamics inside a union can shift. Star players with major endorsement income may be able to wait out a dispute. Others who rely heavily on their league salaries might feel the strain sooner. The longer uncertainty drags on, the more difficult it can be to maintain solidarity. Sampson was also clear about another element of this approach: consequences for missing the timeline.
I love that strategy. I used it with players all the time. You don't want to agree right now? Your next offer is lower.
That is the punishment for not doing things on my time. That quote reflects a very transactional view of negotiations. While fans often see leagues and players as partners, labor disputes ultimately revolve around financial risk and control. Owners are focused on long-term asset value and cost projections. Players are focused on compensation, security, and a share of growth. The Caitlin Clark surge has added another layer. Her presence has drawn unprecedented attention and revenue potential. Some believe that spotlight strengthens the player's position. Others argue it increases pressure on them, because no one wants to be blamed for jeopardizing a highly anticipated season. By placing the deadline before logistical commitments are locked in, ownership effectively shifts public pressure. If games are delayed, the narrative battle becomes just as important as the financial one. There's one rule negotiators often repeat, though: don't issue an ultimatum unless you're ready to follow through. If leadership sets a hard deadline and then backs off, credibility can disappear. Sampson emphasized that point as well.
Have to follow through. Because if your child, your partner, your parent, the people with whom you work, the people against whom you negotiate, the agents, if they all believe...
If they believe you are not sincere, when you give an ultimatum, you have lost them forever. That's why this March 10th date carries so much weight. Ownership appears to be signaling that it won't move past certain financial limits and won't extend negotiations beyond the point where the season becomes impractical to organize. From their standpoint, absorbing projected losses or dramatically increasing revenue sharing may not align with their long-term model. From the players' side, the push for a larger share reflects confidence in the league's growth and the belief that they deserve to participate more fully in it. So the question becomes, is this a calculated strategy designed to bring negotiations to a swift conclusion? Or does it risk long-term damage to relationships and momentum? Will internal financial pressure lead players to push for a quicker resolution, or will unity hold? What's your take on this power struggle? Is the use of deadlines and shifting offers smart negotiation? Or does it cross a line that could hurt the league's future? Share your honest analysis below. If you want deeper discussions about the business side of professional sports, the leverage, the strategy, and the numbers behind the headlines, stick around. We focus on the financial realities that shape what happens on the court. I'll see you in the next breakdown.